All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining this week's Tips and Tricks call. I'd like to take the moment to introduce our topic and our presenter today. Today's topic is following a football theme for fall. It's checkpoint network blocking and tackling, and it's going to enlighten you on the tools that you have available that you can use inside of your gateways and on your management systems in order to prevent malicious traffic. Today's presenter is Andy Thomas. He's a security engineer out of the North Carolina area. And with that, please use the chat and Q&A to ask any questions that you may find, that you may come up with during the presentation. With that, Andy, take it away.
All right, thanks, Kyle. Good morning, everyone. Hopefully we'll be able to shed some light on some of the tools we have for blocking network traffic. So just going to jump into the presentation. We'll do some demos after we go through this short presentation. Just wanted to give you some awareness of what the tools are. Now, first of all, Checkpoint, we feel like we have the best threat intelligence out there. We have all these gateways and endpoints collecting information, but sometimes people have other systems, other methods of procuring, IOCs, we'll just say, and they want that imported into their checkpoint environment. And so we got multiple ways of doing that. But not only that, you also have, sometimes you just need to block an IP. Sometimes you're under attack. You just need to do something quick. So that I'm going to lead into that with our first tool that I'm going to talk about. Let's go through the agenda first, though, real quick. Suspicious activity monitoring, what I was getting ready to talk about. We'll go into that first. IOC import, that's kind of an older way of doing IOC imports. IOC feeds is a new and better way and much more dynamic. I was going to include the Infinity SOC and how that relates to the IOC feed. I forgot to take this out. I'm not going to cover it now because I don't really have the time, but there is a way to get feeds directly from Infinity SOC. Your security engineers will probably talk to you about Infinity SOC. If not, please ask them about a great tool for integrating your gateways and processing IOCs. And then the final thing, as far as the tool, is blocking malicious inbound IPs. That's a tool that, you're trying to focus on blocking Tor and other inbound attacks that you may experience, and how to do that in a feed-based method instead of using something like SAM. And then we'll finish off with what tool to use and what use case. So I'm going to jump into the suspicious activity monitoring. This has been around for many years. Veterans like Kyle and I have used this. This was the only tool in the toolbox back in the day that I'm aware of, other than just doing firewall policy. So what's great about SAM is it's something that you can do from the management server. You can pick the gateway that you want to send these SAM rules out to. You can only it's only IP based, though, network or host based. So if you have a single IP, you do a host based. If it's a network, you would do a network. But the great thing is you do it from the management server, and the point on the bottom there, no install policy is required. So it's very quick and dynamic, and something that you need in a large environment or even in a small one to react rapidly. So this is a screenshot of both. Well, this is the management interface for putting in a SAM rule, and we'll do this. You'll see the mechanism to actually do it, but I've got a screenshot here. And then it's got a command line interface that runs on the management server that you can do. I don't have it in this command, but you can actually, if you can, well, I've got it designated at the bottom. You see -CPGW. If you leave that off, it'll actually send the command to all your gateways. So pretty powerful in the fact that you can distribute it really quickly, or just target specific gateways that you want to distribute the block to. So IOC import, I think that came about in 2018 or 2019. I actually had the text for the feed here. I did not have any text for the import. We'll just go over what the import does. It's pretty much taken a file that's predefined by checkpoint that has files. We can use sticks, I believe, but typically we have our own formatted CSV. It's pretty easy to take and use some system to manipulate whatever feed you're getting and putting them in the format. You'll see if I'll have a sample Excel document. So what makes this different than the feed is the import. You import it into the management server and then you push policy and it goes out. So the next time you need to do another distribution, you have to take a new file, create basically kind of like a new campaign or a new attack that you've been under attack with, configure it, and import it in the spreadsheet and push policy again. Not very dynamic, and that's where the intelligence feeds the new way, and really probably the most bang for your buck of this whole presentation that you'll get is the intelligence feed. But this is an example of the import, the IOC import here. And you can see you're just actually basically just pulling a file. That's the file that I'll use in the demo. So both custom intelligence feeds and IOC import both use the threat prevention engines, and they depend on the antivirus and antibot blades. So really the IOCs that you're talking about here, I don't have them all memorized, but mainly it's like IP, domain, and that's, more for an outbound. Most the antivirus and antibot blades typically have an outbound focus. You can, I think, set up your threat prevention policy to look at both ways, but it really doesn't make sense. You're really talking about public IPs that you're getting information from and the outbound access to those resources. So, but some of the fields or IOCs that we support are, IP, domain, hash. There's some stuff around mail, and we can look at those. It's easy enough to show you on as we get into the web interface. I mean the management interface. But the custom intelligence feeds, the benefit is minimal operational overhead. So I'm going to go on to that screenshot of the management. This is new, and I think this started in R81. I don't believe it was there in R80, the management interface for this. It was command line only, what you see to the right there. And that is run from the gateway. There is a mechanism to do it from the management server, or was, probably still is, but there's really no need since you've got a GUI interface for that now, R81 and above. But as you can see, you're just basically pointing to the place where you're going to get the feed. You can put it in a prevent or detect. You kind of define how the file's going to look at. Notice custom. It means that I can take any file in any format and basically by configuring these and telling the different fields and what the field number is, if it's comma separated, which you can, or whatever your separator is, if you put that in here, it basically lets you take whatever format you got and order those things by telling it that this field here, you'll notice it says number. You can order these with the fields that are coming in from that file. That way, you don't have to manipulate that file like that custom. That IOC import on the previous one. You had to have it in the checkpoint standard format. This gives you the ability to kind of do it on the fly. So however this third party is giving you the file, you can take and bring it straight in from that. You just have to know how to manipulate it here. And here's the command line that I actually run on the gateway, kind of wraps here, but then there's a couple of other IOC feed supporting commands that we'll go through on the demo. The next tool is how to block traffic outbound coming in. And it kind of, I believe it uses our DOS engine. And basically you're just taking a feed and importing into that. It's similar to the IOC feeds, but not exactly. It is a feed-based system though that you run a command on. This mechanism is set to run to the management server, and you have a file on the management server that tells what gateways to send it to, and it pulls it from there. And this is just an example of the activation command. We'll run that. This is one that I won't spend as much time on because it's least used. It's more for awareness on it, but I will point some things out on the SK articles. So now I may come back to this after I get done doing the demo. Where we at on time? We should be good.
Yeah, you're good on time.
So, okay. So I'm just going to walk through this real quick. So SAM is based, it'll do either direction. It's the only one that'll do, is really made for both direction. It doesn't require policy install, but it is IP block only. It's not, it's not IOCs. It's not anything other than IPs. IOC import, it's mainly for outbound attacks, just like IOC feed. It does require a policy install, whereas IOC feed does not. And then malicious IPs is made more for inbound attacks, and it's IP block only. And when I say IP, I mean network or host. And we'll provide this. This was just more for reference after the demonstration. All right, so I want to point out a couple things in some of the SK articles. Each one of those are listed. This is what I had just listed. Good SK articles. The one on doing the IOC import, it's actually in the ATRG. It's not, doesn't have a specific, but if you go down to, if you go to the top and you do indicators here, it'll take you to the part. Well, for whatever reason, it's not wanting to go there. Anyway, we'll skip that. But anyway, you go to the indicators, it will tell you how to do the import. So here you'll notice that we have this disclaimer here that, and then this is on how to block traffic coming from known malicious IP addresses. This is where I consider it to be inbound. This is the one where it says that you should consider using custom intelligence feeds. And I agree with that if you have, like, if you're looking at both directions on custom intelligence feed. But if you're only you only are doing outbound, you're only doing threat prevention, have those blades turned on to look at outbound traffic, and you're not inbound, then that wouldn't really help you. This is more for inbound traffic. So this is a case where if you were getting feeds for inbound attacks, this would probably be the best tool to use. So let's get into the good stuff now. So let's do the SAM first. And I just realized, I'm sorry, I hadn't pushed that other screen up. This is what I was talking about here on that disclaimer on that on the SK article. So to get to the SAM, it's a tool built within Smart View Monitor. So you, oh crap. Let me log out, log back in real quick. Live demos, you gotta love them. You'll notice here while I'm waiting, I got a shell to my manager and my gateway. We'll use those in just a second. As for this, I'm going to try to, all these demos are not comprehensive demos at all. They're short actions. So you'll just get a feel for what it is. You know, really the focus of this conversation was really to know when to use what tool, because we get asked that quite a bit. So it's more of an awareness, but there's plenty of stuff in the SK articles, are good SK articles. And so hopefully and you got your security engineer to rely on too. So make him do all the work. All right, so this tool open down here. All right, so this is just a quick example. This is the only gateway I'm going to use here. Pull this up. This is easy for me to remember. It looks like a keyboard to me. Maybe I think it's a firewall. But, so in this case, this is really my only gateway I have up. I've already got one in here, and that's what happened. So if I want to add this same thing, I've got 1.1.1.1 in the source. I'm just going to do the inverse of that. Do it as a destination. You got different things. You can do it by service too, so it's more firewall based. Most of the time, people just put any if it's malicious. You got an expiration that you can put in relative for the next hour. So you got some options here. But there you go. So pretty straightforward. Easy enough to remove those. And like I said, if you do this, now I don't have these gateways enabled, so it's going to hang here. But if you had all your gateways online and stuff, you could do that. You could show all the rules from all the different gateways. Just showing that you can do it from the command line as well. I'm going to go back and get that from the presentation. I'm just going to use the command that I had in it. Should have had this cut and ready. Now it goes again, it goes on the manager. So there's one, just put it in for 2.2.2.2. There, I believe there's a command line to show you all the SAM rules from the command line. I couldn't find it before I did this, but you can always go back into your Smart View monitor and you should see that now. I picked the wrong one. And there it is. Makes sense? All right, still good on time. Let's see here. Now I want to jump into the IOC import. And I'll do this, the IOC import and the feed at the same time. Go into your security policies and your threat prevention profile. Go to indicators. So I have none right now. So I'm going to do the import of the file first. And this, like I say, where I used these in the past as a customer was we'd have like a campaign that would come against us, big, just some ransomware attack or whatever that had all kinds of different threat intelligence. You'd get a spreadsheet with all the different indicators, and then you would just take that spreadsheet, and it could be, it could be a hash, it could be a domain, it could be an IP, but then you just you get that spreadsheet or CSV file, say okay, and it broke. All right, I just edited this file earlier today. I know which one I added. I'm going to clean this up real quick. I added a hash and I must have not done something right on it. So well, all right. Okay, not a great example. This really is an easy thing to do. Hold on a second. Just make sure your file is, formatted right. You'll have an opportunity to test it. I may come back to that if we have more time. So I'm going to move on. So external IOC feeds. So I've got a URL from a threat source that I'm going to copy in here. And again, you have prevent or detect. I'm not going to use this gateway proxy. Now we need to come down here. Now this file, I'll give you an idea of what it looks like. This is the actual connection to the file we're going to use from this threat source. So it's just a one column file. And basically what we're doing is really the value, the IP address is all that matters in this case. So we're going to use custom. If you had, a lot of times comments or pounds, so you can put that, if you like have commented files. This is where I was telling you all the different stuff that we use for IOCs. So you got, domain, IP address, MD5, URL, IP range, these mail fields, and then more hashes. So we're going to do IP. We're just going to say we only have one column field. So the value is one. That the value that we're actually going to use and look at as the actual indicator. And you can put some other comments and stuff in here. Well, no, actually this would be in order. If you had a multi-level file, you would put, maybe comment was in the third field. You would put that there, maybe name was in. And we could do that. I don't know that it would work, but there's only one column, so I'm not going to do that. All right. All right. Says, I think I probably don't need the quotes. This happened to be in what I was working on. Botnet IPs. And there you go. So this is managed from the manager, so you can do the install policy. I really don't have something to show. I mean, it'll just be out there. But I am gonna go ahead and push it to the gateway. And you do need to have threat prevention profile there checked. And again, I wished I could test this more, but I don't have a machine that I can really test with. My sandblast agent gets in the way. So I'm just going to jump on to the next item. Is you can do these IO feeds from the management like that, but if you're not on R81 yet, I think you can only do it like if you're on R8040 is when we started doing the feeds. I think you can only do command line, and there may be other reasons why you just want to do command line from the gateway. So I'm going to bring this up real quick and just show you what a command would look like. So I'm actually doing the same thing, duplicate. No, actually that other one was a different feed that I was doing through the management. This is a local feed that I have that I've set up on my own web server. So it's going to have multiple feeds, and it's getting now actually one of them is being managed through the manager and one of them is being managed directly from the gateway. But you have that flexibility. I'm not sure why you would do that. This is a demo environment, so that's why we're doing it this way. So I know we have some questions and we probably are running out of time. I'm not going to go into the inbound stuff, the malicious IPs. It's out there documented. And let's just go ahead and start hitting the questions, I guess, Kyle, unless you feel like we have a little more time.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Andy. Yeah, we actually do have a couple of questions. Some of the questions I got is, so if we are using a SAM rule as well as a firewall policy rule to block a malicious IP.
Yeah.
Which one takes precedence?
So SAM does. I think the whole idea is I'm under attack and I'm not going to make a decision. Like it could be when you put the SAM in, a lot of times it's for rules that you don't have in play. I mean, you don't have something blocking in that, or you wouldn't really need it. But you're under attack. It's going to a system that's up, but you've got to allow rule into it. So it's going to do that SAM rule first, because you may have open firewall policy. Now, if that same IP happens to fall within the firewall policy, precedent still remains the same. It's still the SAM rule that takes precedent.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note, just want to make sure you audit those SAM rules occasionally, because there may be need to do some cleanup as well.
Yeah, the whole expiration thing is a good practice. Some people like, well, if it's bad once, it'll always be bad. I'm not sure I agree with that, but it depends on whatever your policy is within your organization.
Right. And then got one other question. If anti-bot is enabled and we're also using custom IOC feeds, which one is going to take precedence?
So the same idea, the IOC takes precedent over the standard checkpoint blades. I mean, it's using the same engine, but it checks that IOC feed first because it's, okay, you really want this blocked. We don't know about it, or we haven't got that in our threat intelligence. So you want to block it, we'll block it.
Great. Terrific. And I think that covers most of the questions. And I do see a comment from one of our regional architects, Dan Taney, talking about the CLI commands. The show all SAM rules is FW SAM policy get. So if everybody take a look in the chat, you can actually see that command that Dan Taney references in order to gain those.
Thank you, Dan. Let's just try that out. I saw SAM policy, but I've never really worked with it that much.
Yep. SAM _policy space get. Yep.
They may only be if you're using SAM policy. I don't know. We know we have the rules in there, so I'm not sure. Maybe we can follow up on that, Dan. But anyway, we're still important over here. Sometimes it does take a bit, but I think I've covered everything I wanted to. Any more questions? There it goes.
Just in time. Perfect.
And well, I'll go ahead and do this, and that popped right up. I don't know, maybe match the commands. So we just got it imported. You see the observables that pull down. That's what they call them, observables, for IOC term. But basically, to see, this is what we kind of do with the file. We're only getting this one value, but then you've got this other, this is a comment botnet. That was just part of the command that we put in there. But now to delete that, easy enough to delete it. I meant to do a show, but you can show them, but the show command is essentially this. And then there's another command to do push, which actually it probably should say fetch. It actually does a refresh on the fetch of the IOCs. All right, I'm done.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Andy, for great content. Thank you all for the questions and comments. I really do appreciate it. The next tips and tricks is going to be scheduled for November 18th, so in 2 weeks. In that discussion, we're going to be talking about endpoint with Windows 11. We'll have another SE out in the South Carolina area that's going to be doing the presentation. So thank you all for attending. Really do appreciate the time today. And if you have any questions, please reach out to your local account team. They can provide the recording of this presentation for your review for later. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.